Welcome to the Yerba Power Podcast. I'm Devin, your host of the Yerba Power Podcast, where we share the power of Yerba Mate with the world. Got a special episode today talking about travel tips traveling with Yerba Mate, and I reached out to two experts. One is very excited to introduce Frank Martin. I found him in Yerba Mate Underground, which is a group on Facebook that has a wealth of information, experts and stuff on there. Great people. I reached out to Frank because he works in an airport, Salt Lake City. And so, kind of like, how do you get through security and all that stuff? So, he addresses some of those issues. I also have a returning guest, Jeff from Yerba Travels. We do a talk about our recent trips, as well as kind of some tips and tricks, things we've learned about traveling with Yerba Mate. So, first, I'll introduce you guys to Frank and his questions I asked him and his response, which is golden. Then later, Jeff and I will talk on the video. This will all be up on YouTube. I'm working with some stuff, so hey, if it's audio will be good because that I got a hang of. Video, I'm still working on it, but I hope you guys like this. Check it out on YouTube, Yerba Mate Power. Like, comment, subscribe, all that great stuff. No, I plan to do a lot more of these things, trying to make a video kind of format to kind of let you guys, I guess, see my face and meet the people behind the scenes and kind of that stuff. Plus, it's just fun, I guess. I mean, it's just an extra layer, and I hope people find a lot of value in that. So that's my intro. Enjoy the episode.
Thanks for having me on your podcast today. I started drinking Mate when about 7 years ago. I was at a cafe with a friend, and I see this lady with a beautiful calabash of like silver ornate, probably your win. I'm like, wow, what is that? And I was like, don't go over, Frank. Of course, me being me, I went over, and I said, what is that? She didn't speak English. I didn't speak Spanish. She said, mate. I'm like, what? Yerba mate. So I said, all right, I'm all in that. And she smiled. So I went online, looked it up. There's a store about 5 minutes from my childhood home. Ever since I've been hooked. Another question I got was, how do you connect people with mate? Mate is all about connection. It's a social drink. Like, sure, coffee, you drink it in the morning, talk about your day, yeah, but mate is different. It's a bond you make with someone. Like, it happens all the time. I work at the Salt Lake International Airport, and I drink Turek cold mate all day. And people constantly ask me, what is that? Are you smoking marijuana? No, I'm not. It's things like that. So I was going through security, and there was this man, and he's like, to the left. He smiled. I'm like, oh, God. So, all right. He goes, is that mate? I go, yeah, how do you know? I'm from Ukraine, but I met people who drink it. I said, oh, wonderful. And then every time when I'm doing the scan, he goes to the left. I'm like, oh, come on, man, get to work. And we laugh, we talk, we become friends. It's really cool. And yeah, we talk. So it's really nice. It's really a social drink. You meet so many people. Oh, traveling with Yerba Mate in the airport. That's a very loaded question. Because you could travel in the Beijing airport, Dublin, Santiago. It really depends. But I work in the Salt Lake City airport in Utah, in America. It's very simple. If you have mate, put in an unopened package. I prefer, and just to be safe. And if it's unopened, they don't touch it. If it's open, they might think it's weed, and they'll pull you aside. It's the whole thing. So, but hot water you get from Starbucks or a cafe, and but me, it's usually fine. So they're really just nice about it. They just let you do your thing. And I'm really grateful to work in the airport. I worked there 8 months, and I love it every day. Thank you for letting me be on your podcast. Have a good day.
Yeah, throw it out there, man. I see you doing some big work. Some big work. You got Yerba Crew on now. I just watched the podcast with Sean.
Shane Raymer, I think is his last name.
Yeah, Shane. Yeah. Man, I love that, what you guys talked about there. I wish I posted a comment on YouTube, but I wish more people would talk about having fun without getting loose, as you guys were talking about. So
good,
man, you're doing some big things. I'm really glad. I'm kind of back in that mindset, with traveling and that. I was really focused on my kids, like we talked about before.
Sure.
So I'm so ready, dude. Let's pump it out there.
All right. Without further ado, welcome to the Yerba Power Travels podcast, the Yerba Travels Power, Yerba Travel Power Podcast, the Yerba Power Travel. Which sounds better. They both sound great. Jeff, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing great, man. How you doing, Evan?
Good, man. We those that don't know, yeah, you were out and about or down and out, I guess, rather yesterday. So glad to have you back on board. Glad you're feeling better.
Yeah, yeah. I wish we could have done it yesterday. I was pretty excited about it, but had a little stomach bug. Feeling a lot better today, and we got some awesome things to talk about, don't we?
Yes, sir. Um, since well, those that don't know, or I guess that those that listen to us, or maybe they don't listen to us, if they're gonna listen to us now, I guess let you know, I have a podcast called the Yerba Power Podcast, where I share the power of yerba mate with the world. Jeff has a podcast called Yerba Mate Travels, or Yerba Travels rather, and I'll let you plug it there.
Yeah. So my podcast is all about combining yerba mate with traveling. Um, I have people on from around the world. We've had people from Sri Lanka to Kenya to uh, expats living in Russia. And I just interview them to see what life is like in these different countries, what people can explore, ideas for travel. And this is the second season of that. And we're really focused on exploration this season. And so, uh, Devin and I kind of both had our own little trips recently, and that's exactly what I did about 2 weeks ago. Is explored all around Korea. So yeah, maybe we can talk about that a little bit. But the podcast is all about travel, exploring, finding new things, finding out the unique and weird of these different countries. So yeah, Yerba Travels. You can check it out on Spotify, on Google, and the YouTube page.
Yeah, and we and so just a little bit of backstory too is Jeff was on my podcast in episode 4, like right at the very start before I had anybody on there about Yerba Mate in Korea, because right now you live in Korea, and I thought that was the most interesting thing in the world, that Yerba Mate is outside of the U.S. and outside of Argentina and outside of just like Korea. I just never would have thought that. And then we got to hear your story, which if you haven't listened to, go back to episode 4. I was also recently on yours because one thing we share in common besides Yerba Mate is travel, where I shared about my story of living in Spain and traveling around there. And so that's kind of why we're together today, to kind of talk about that, about travel and mate. So I recently got back from a trip to the Bahamas. Fancy me, right? Took the family, bougie. So I have to drink my mate with my pinky up now. But
Yeah, yeah, on that
uh,
cruise.
yeah, I know. Uh, it's actually, believe it or not, super affordable and very convenient. So highly recommend cruises for those in the U.S. It's We went from Orlando, or Port Canaveral, which is outside of Orlando, to the Bahamas. It was like 4 days. All 4 of us, so brought the kids. We all shared a room, which actually worked out well, believe it or not. You think that would be chaos and a bad idea, and at the time that kind of sounded like it was, but all worked out well. There's daycare and stuff included. All the meals are included, entertainment, everything. So it's a great time. Unfortunately, the Bahamas, they're 2 and 4, so we didn't do any big excursions. We just mostly just got out the ship, walked around, talked about, explained to my kids what the Bahamas was about. Even my wife had a lot of questions about, were pirates real? It's like, yeah, they came through here, believe it or not, because, she's from Argentina, so it's like you hear about it, but didn't know that like it really about the Caribbean. And I was explaining the whole Golden Triangle thing, which if you guys didn't take American history, about the basically the slave trade, and just explained why kind of that's the whole, I don't know, whatever history and the things in the state of the art, and how that all conspired and everything. So I guess that's pretty much it in a nutshell. But I did want to mention, and with mate and travel, so did drink mate on the ship. So plus for us there. Just brought a regular old stainless steel mate and had some yerba ready to go, with thermos, everything. Um, so I didn't drink with anybody else other than my wife, so no other cool stories there. I don't know about you, and maybe you can tell about your trip first. And maybe we'll segue back to it. The hardest thing for me is just finding hot water. So I use this just little meat thermometer to
Hmm.
measure the temperature of the water. and I usually just go to, a coffee shop, or like those coffee containers, like that are brewing coffee, and they have like a little nozzle on the side. Almost all of them,
Right.
the gas stations or wherever, it's just hot water, and I'll fill up the thermos. Fill up the thermos with the hot water nozzle. Of course, it's like boiling hot, so you fill it about, around here-ish, and then you just dump some cold water or some ice in it and try to get it, to the right temperature. It's always, you know,
Yeah.
tough, but that's why I use the little thermometer. Um, how about yourself? What, your travel and I don't know, is finding hot water the most frustrating thing for you, or is there other stuff to it?
Yeah, that's funny you say that. Actually, during the travel that we just took recently, I had to do the same thing. I had to run into a convenience store and um, get the big hot water on there, and I had to fill it up. So I did the same thing. So one thing that I like to do is when I take my thermos out, I'll fill it about 3/4 of the way up with boiling water, things that are like 90 degrees Celsius or something, which is extremely hot. So about half to 3/4, and then I'll put some ice water or some cold water in there. And what I like to do when I do that is what I do the hand test. So you take the palm of your hand and you put it over top of it, and you can hold it there. If you hold your hand over the top of it, and you can do it for about 3 seconds or so, roughly, then that tells me that it's down around 70 degrees Celsius. So I do just a hand test. If I can't hold it there very long, then I'll dump it out and I'll add more cold water to it. So I had to do that a couple times on our travel. But fortunate for me, here in Korea, we have um, kind of like water coolers at different places. So they've got, the big 5 liters of water jugs that sit on top, and they've got nozzles for hot and cold. So at most hotels or what they call pensions over here, you'll have something similar to that, and it's got a hot and a cold. And I found that the hot is slightly above the temperature that you want, slightly above 70 degrees. So we were fortunate enough to have those, and that's typically what I use when I'm on the road. But hand test is my go-to when nothing's around.
That's a great point, and actually something I didn't know. I've heard of like that with like when you're putting it on the stove, like, but I've not heard it explained like that as far as 3 seconds. And that's good because what is 70 degrees Celsius Fahrenheit, give or take? Probably like
Uh,
150-ish, maybe
yeah, around
one
there.
fifty, one
Yeah.
sixty or something. Yeah, because those who haven't listened to, I'm usually the oddball because I like 140-ish. I don't like it that hot. But 150 is fine. Anything above like 160 though is just like, for me personally, which is like 80 degrees, I think Celsius, is just too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, drink it with some.
Not
Yeah,
just that it's too hot to drink. Like that'll definitely burn your tongue. It's really hot on the throat when you're drinking it.
yeah,
But I've also noticed, and through conversations with people, that water temperature fluctuates the flavor of the mate as well. So the cooler it is, the more flavor will pop. The warmer it is, um, the the kind of bitterness pops out a little bit. And that's for me, that's what I like. I like that bitterness. I like that. Well, I call it a punch. I like
yeah.
that strong punch with my mate. So that's why I hit 70, around
Nice,
150. Yeah.
nice. Well, so do you just with that's cool that the hot water tab is just about right. And do you just kind of stick with that? Do you just kind of try to add a little bit of cold just to make it just about right, or just like close enough?
Yeah, I top it off with cold water. I'll fill it up, you know, a little bit more than 3/4, and then top it off
Uh-huh.
with the
Yeah.
the cold water side.
Put a
Yeah.
little splash of cold on there. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I saw you guys went to Busan, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah,
And then
that
you
was one of the places.
in Jeju also?
We not this time. We didn't hit Jeju.
Okay.
So Korea
That,
is a peninsula, for those who don't know, and Jeju Island is just south of that peninsula. I've been there before, but on this recent trip that we took with my kids, who are 4, we basically looped Korea. So we started on the west coast, kind of the northwest side, just south of Seoul, and we drove up Seoul, across the mountains, across the center to the east, which is Gangnam. It's a northeast city, beach city up there. And then from there, we drove down to just south, but kind of south inland to what's called Quebec City. During the wintertime, Quebec puts on a magnificent snow festival where they got these monuments made of snow and they carve out like dragons and characters. Really cool in the wintertime. But we stopped down there to see a gorgeous waterfall, this kind of aqua blue I've never seen before, but it changed because of the limestone that's in the riverbed there. So we stopped there and then we continued down to Daegu, which is almost the center of the country, kind of south center of the country. From Daegu, we went to Busan. Busan is a port city in the southeast side of the country. From Busan, we kind of went along the bottom. We stopped, there are little islands along the bottom that are kind of connected to the mainland with bridges. And one of the places that we stopped is called Namhae. Namhae is beautiful. There's a German community down there.
Mm.
So a lot of the Germans, after World War II, during the Korean War, they formed this community, and their ancestors live there now. So in Namhae, you've got a German village. They do import beers. They do import sausages and sauerkraut, German foods down there. Beautiful city. From there, we kind of started to loop back up the west coast. We went to a town called Yeosu, and then up the coast to, I guess one of my favorite names is Booyah. That's the name of the city. Yeah. And we went to Booyah and we saw this nighttime laser light festival.
Cool.
Kids were stunned by that.
Of course,
then we came back up, and I kind of wish I knew how many kilometers we went. I didn't track that, but all in all, we did that in about 5 days.
Yeah, so you had a good long trip with the kids. How did they handle it?
I tell you, I was quite surprised. I learned a lot of things in this trip because my main focus, not just with the podcast, but is to spend time with my kids and to really explore with them.
Mm-hmm.
We try to get them into travel. So the first thing I noticed is they weren't hypermaniacs in the van. We were in the car for long stretches of time, 4 to 6 hours at a time. We'd take little bathroom breaks, but I thought it was going to be chaos having two little kids. It wasn't. So the first thing I found with my kids is I really started to engage with them.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of letting them have their tablets, this and that, they obviously did that for a time. But as I was driving, I would try to interact with them. Hey, what are you watching? What are you doing here? And then I would point things out the window. Yeah. Oh, did you see that airplane? Did you see this?
Mm-hmm.
And what I noticed is, I think by end of day 2, beginning of day 3, they started to put their tablets down naturally. And they started to actually engage with me. And we had kind of mini conversations. Right?
That's
They're
wonderful.
Only 4. But we had these conversations, and naturally they put it down. And I found out just through communication. I didn't force anything. I was just asking questions. And halfway through, they started asking me questions about travel and what's this and that. And so, overall, this is one of the best trips I've taken in a long time. Getting to spend time with my kids, getting to explore so many amazing things. I'm going to talk about it on my podcast in more detail, but it was fantastic.
That's great, Jeff. Yeah, thanks for sharing that inspiration. Because I've realized that too with my son he'll be 5 in January, and then kind of pointing out things, and he has the greatest memory. He'll remember some sign I pointed out or something, and or he'll literally see like a place that looks like somewhere we've been or something. He's like, oh, is that? And it's like, you remember that? There was a cabin. Basically, it was a cabin we stayed at over here in the Smoky Mountains area one time. This was March maybe, and anyways, he saw a similar cabin. It's like, oh, are we going camping, or something? And like, oh no, and that's just that it was just like a little like cabin, built someone or whatever, but anyways, so it's kind of cool how those memories, you never know how what they'll take with them later on in life, because even I remember some things that my dad or whatever, so
they'll reach way down in their memory bank. It's so funny. My son does the same thing. Hey, we've been here before. or oh, is that so and so? And you're kind of like, no, but we've been to something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
um,
yeah. So I one thing that I did during the travels was try to figure out how like best ways to travel with mate. You know,
mhm.
we both of us have traveled. You took your mate on the cruise with you, which is pretty cool. Do you typically travel with a stainless mate? Is that your go-to?
Yeah, that's typically the stainless steel because, you know, so I haven't, so full disclosure, I've traveled a lot, like 22, 23 countries total, but only probably about 5 of those have been with mate. You know, so uh, stainless steel, I think, has been pretty much that, or like a little. I had a little plastic one. I don't know if I still have it. Just a little plastic cup, basically. Because glass, obviously, or ceramic, I'm afraid of breaking it, and then of course the
Hmm.
calabash, I mean, the same thing. So stainless steel is pretty much the easiest option to not worry about breaking it or dropping it or just throw it in the bag or whatever. Obviously cleaning it as well and all those other
Yeah.
things, which I need to get a silicone, which people have told me about, and that's one you have, correct? You have a
Yeah, I
silicone
do.
one?
Yeah. Yeah, I have
Is,
I do.
do you typically travel with the silicone one, or do you um, give or take, or what,
Yeah, give or take, they're fantastic for travel. Actually, the
Mhm.
silicone ones, whether it's, a day hike or you're taking a long trip, going on a cruise or traveling around a country, whatever, they are fantastic for that for a couple of reasons. One, they're easy to use. Uh, they're also easy to clean, very
Mhm.
easy to clean. You kind of just wipe them out,
Yeah,
rinse
I've
them
heard you
out, and
literally
dump
just
it.
dump it, like not even scrape it, just dump it. Like,
Yeah, pretty much. And I don't know about the newer ones. The one I have is a bit older. I'll hold it up if anybody's watching.
oh, I haven't seen anything
Um,
like that. Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of bottlenecks at the top. It's got a fat bottom, but yeah, the new ones are more like the calabash gourds, where they're wider base and wider mouth on them.
Mm.
But I really like this one because I guess it's plastic, kind of makes a good hold. The silicone doesn't get over hot, but it gets warm
Hmm.
as you drink it. So it's really good in the wintertime when you want to hold it, but not so much in the summer. So I like this one particularly because it's not a handle, but it's got like a grip on it
Oh, okay.
that you can
Does it
hold.
does it kind of squish and malleable? Is
So
it or no?
yeah, the bottom
Oh,
squishes. The
okay. Wow. Okay.
top's pretty firm. Can't really do
Ah,
much.
interesting.
Yeah, and another thing, I also have a couple stainless ones and I like them, but I have chopped them and it nicks them a little bit. You get little scratches.
Sure.
It adds character to me. I like it. Other people don't, right?
Mm.
But the silicones don't, right? You can drop them, hit them. I
Yeah.
mean, I've dropped this one a couple times, and even the plastic grip part hasn't had any damage, but whatnot. So
Easier to pack in a bag for airplane, I imagine too.
yes, and smaller, right? They take up
Yeah.
less space. If
Sure.
they do get kind of crushed or whatever, they're gonna go back to their normal form, normal shape. Um, so yeah, I really like that. I really like it. But with that, I don't know what you travel with, but I typically travel with a spoon bombilla, and I
Pretty much all the bombillas I have are pretty much spoon, and I have some of those like corkscrew ones that those are kind of actually
mm-hmm,
my favorite, but I only have.
yeah,
I usually just kind of grab whatever, to be honest. But yeah, typically a spoon bombilla. Yeah.
yeah. So I like these in particular because it kind of creates a bit of space naturally,
Hmm.
right? So the water gets there, less clogging with those.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and typically the spoon ones can come apart. You can get
Yep.
the mouthpiece and the spoon off. So I really like those. But yeah, I just wanted to say that the coil ones too. So
Coil. That's the word I
especially
was. Yeah. Hmm.
yeah, especially with the silicone, I like the coil. I don't know why. It seems to work really well. Maybe it's the design of this one, the
Hmm.
bottleneck and the wider bottom. But the coil one works really well with this too. So yeah, those are my go-to when I have the silicone, either a spoon or a coil.
The silicone one that I keep seeing, I guess maybe on Amazon. I don't know where, but it kind of looks almost like a little bowl or a little, I don't know, like an orange, a
Hmm.
fruit basically. It's a really round shape, and it has kind of like a notch in the top for the bombilla to sit, and it kind of is kind of like cut in half, and then this part kind of supports the bombilla. If
Yeah.
I'm doing a bad demonstration with my hands, but maybe put a link in here or
The
somewhere.
magic
But
show.
yeah, he does this thing. Maybe put a link
Funny.
down below somewhere. But that's the one I've normally seen, and to me, to be honest, like it seems like it would be so flimsy. Like, can I even hold it? Would it just like fall apart? Would I just drop it? You know what I'm saying? Like I set it down, it just kind of collapses and hot water goes everywhere. But
Mm.
I guess yours is obviously a little bit different. And I like how it's like firm on the top. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's I think, like you said, a good grip. But yeah, I've definitely heard good things about traveling with that. With little plug, if you have other comments or questions or things about silicone mates or traveling mates that you recommend or questions about those, leave those in the comments below for us. We're always, welcoming feedback because it helps us to do better. It's something that kind of like, so I'll just let the cat out of the bag. Jeff and I, with our little, podcasts together and kind of trying to build a community. We're going to call it Yerba Mate Ambassador, unless that's copyrighted somewhere. But we're going to build a little, trying to work to get a Yerba Mate community together. And we don't know what that looks like just yet, but we're figuring it out. And the more the merrier. We're trying to literally make this accessible for everyone, throughout the world. And kind of like why we both are world traveling and everything, just making this accessible for everyone. And I guess with that being said, um, it's okay. Like you don't have to have a silicone mate. You could just have a cup or anything. I guess trying to make it more accessible too. If that's fair enough to say.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been, sometimes you're in a rush to get out the door and you don't pack something. I've learned to pre-pack my my mate and yerba and everything now, but sometimes you're out the door and one thing I always keep a bombilla in my bag. So when I'm out the door, I can always get a cup somewhere where there's a glass cup at a hotel, whatever.
Pro
So
tip.
I always at least have that. I always have that in mate in there. I don't always keep the gourd in there. Maybe I should. I should just keep my own kind of full kit. But yeah, you get out the door, you go, and I like that the freshness.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually, like I said, pro tip. I mean, I've got plenty of bombillas. I think anybody that has drank mate for more than a year or so, you get a, 3 bombillas with, the set. So you've already got more than you need. There's no harm in keeping one bombilla and, at work or at somewhere else, and at very least, yeah, like you said, hey, copy, coffee cup. That's what I was trying to say. Paper coffee cup.
Yeah,
As long as you got some yerba, which I guess that's the first thing is having some yerba and bombilla, and then you're
right,
good to go, pretty much.
right.
I guess it's still the struggle of finding hot water, but if you're in Korea, you just use the hot water nozzle. So,
Yeah, quite fortunate.
but yeah.
Yeah.
Um, well, cool. Anything else, I guess, to let our listeners know about or things we want to talk about while we got a few more minutes?
Yeah, I want to now the cat's out of the bag a little bit. I just want to tell the listeners, yeah, we're trying to build a community for you. So this ambassadors group is what we're trying to do, and we're trying to get people to be part of, to share information about your mate, whether it's talking about what types of gourds, type of bombillas. My channel and Devin started it recently about yerba reviews. So different types of yerbas from Argentina, Uruguay, Brazil. So we want to get information out to you, where to find it, where to shop. Devin has recently partnered with Yerba Crew. Is that right, Devin?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah.
Got it.
So we're just trying to get information together to you. Whether you guys have questions or comments, kind of feedback, let us know. We're always trying to get, trying to learn something and get more information so that we can give it to other people. I know both of us have had kind of connections around the world. I've talked with people in Poland and Argentina and, as I mentioned on my podcast, people from England and Russia about mate. I've got friends in the States who were getting linked up with mate. And, we're doing this not just because it's something new, something different, but there's a whole host of benefits that come with this. And so we're trying to get that information out to you guys. If you guys want to be part of this and help us out, drop comments, send us, send us your questions or whatever. We're gonna put out videos soon about what we're gonna do. Might start some live, this and that. But yeah, we're really putting this together for you guys.
Well said. Well said. Um, yeah, I'm sure the same goes for you, Jeff. As for me, on Instagram is pretty much where I hang out as far as interacting with people. You're always welcome to send me a message there. I really do appreciate it when people reach out and send me messages, ask questions. There's no dumb question.
Right.
I think I appreciate it, being able to help people out and share the passion that we both, share for that. And, you know, uh, Jeff, admire what you're doing as far as the traveling aspect. That's something, I'd love to talk more about on my own podcast as well. So that's kind of why we're kind of intertwining a little bit. And but yeah, we're just trying to get it bigger than ourselves and bigger than just Yerba Mate. Yerba Mate is the kind of the connecting factor for all of us and kind of what unites us around the circle. But it's bigger than that. We don't have to just talk about, the Yerba reviews and stuff. Life and stuff's happened. And I think one thing that we both are big on is as far as, yeah, you're not alone. Especially as men, I guess. I can't speak for women as I'm not one, but for men, I think in some ways that needing a safe space to talk and just whatever. So that's why kind of we're doing this too. Obviously, that's doesn't mean that women are excluded by any means. That's so I guess just a caveat there is yeah, we
Yeah.
anybody and everyone. So it
Yeah.
doesn't mean you have to be any kind of knowledgeable about Yerba Mate to join the community. So
Yeah, and that's it. We're trying to build a community. It's not just Yerba Mate community or travel community. It's just a community. Yeah, great point, Devin. I'm glad you said that because that's what we're all about, right? You and I travel Yerba, talking about issues, men's issues, health issues, mental health issues, etc. We're here for you guys, and reach out if you guys need anything.
Awesome. Well, guys, so check out Yerba Travels podcast, YouTube, Google Podcasts. Just Google it, you'll find it. And you'll find him on mine as well. Yerba Power Podcast. It's on Yerba Power Podcast. It's on every streaming service. You'll find Jeff in there. Yerba Travels. Check us out on Instagram, YouTube, all that stuff. We try to, working on the videos, at least for, I guess, both of us. So we're kind of a little slower, or at least I am a little slower on the videos. The audio and stuff is easier to put out. The videos takes a little extra work. So
yeah, we're doing it all ourselves. We don't have a production team.
That's actually, thanks for your patience because we don't have a production team. There's nobody behind this camera or anything, like hey Jim, put that up on the screen. It's like
right.
I'm just gonna make up I'm gonna make up stuff from now on and be like, hey Bill, can you throw that up? And I'm just like like there you go, yeah.
There it is. Thanks, Bill.
I have. Yeah. Just talking to myself out in here in my house with no one else here. Well, thanks, Jeff. And I'll put this will be on YouTube by the time you see this, and I'll put it on the actual podcast too. And so anyways, we'll just cut there. So but that's the episode then. So
cool.
if you're okay with it leaving it like that.
Absolutely. My whole style is everything's raw. Like I want things to be raw because I personally feel like everything out there is kind of manipulated. We're editing, we're doing this, and people want that stuff. I like raw. So yeah, I'm totally cool with it, man. I'm so glad we got to catch up. I feel kind of energized by doing this. So thanks for that.